Conflict is a natural part of any workplace, whether it arises between colleagues, departments, or even between staff and customers. What truly matters is not whether conflict happens, but how it is resolved. Employers understand that unresolved conflicts can harm morale, reduce productivity, and create a toxic environment. This is why conflict resolution skills are often tested during job interviews. Interviewers want to know if you can remain calm, professional, and effective in addressing disagreements or difficult situations. In this video, we'll explore some of the most common conflict resolution interview questions. For each one, we'll break down what the interviewer is looking for and share a sample response introduced with the phrase, "Here's how you can answer." We'll also add practical tips to help you frame your answers in a way that demonstrates maturity, emotional intelligence, and leadership potential. Question 1. Can you describe a time when you faced a conflict at work and how you resolved it? This is one of the most common conflict resolution interview questions. It gives employers a sense of how you've handled real-life disagreements. Here's how you can answer. In a previous job, I worked with a colleague who frequently missed deadlines, which delayed my part of the project. Instead of letting frustration build, I scheduled a private conversation where I expressed how the delays impacted my work. I also asked if there were challenges I could help with. It turned out they were struggling with a new system, so I offered to walk them through it. This not only improved their efficiency, but also strengthened our working relationship. I learned that approaching conflict with empathy and problem-solving in mind creates better outcomes than confrontation. Question 2. How do you usually handle disagreements with coworkers? Employers want to see your general approach to conflict, not just specific examples. Here's how you can answer. My approach is to remain calm, listen carefully, and try to understand the other person's perspective. I avoid letting emotions dictate my response and instead focus on finding common ground. If necessary, I involve a supervisor only after trying to resolve the issue directly. I found that most conflicts can be settled when both sides feel respected and heard. Question 3. What steps do you take if a conflict escalates and cannot be resolved directly? This question explores your judgment in knowing when to escalate conflicts to higher management. Here's how you can answer. If I can't resolve a conflict directly, I take the next step by involving a manager or HR, but only after I've made genuine efforts to resolve it myself. For instance, if the disagreement impacts team performance or involves policy violations, I know it's important to bring in leadership. I make sure to present the facts objectively without exaggeration and suggest possible solutions. This shows I've approached the issue professionally before escalating it. Question 4. How do you handle conflict with a supervisor or manager? This question tests your maturity and ability to maintain professionalism in sensitive situations. Here's how you can answer. I believe it's important to approach conflicts with supervisors respectfully. If I disagree with a manager's decision, I request a private conversation rather than challenging them publicly. I express my viewpoint clearly but respectfully, focusing on facts and potential outcomes. For example, I once disagreed with a proposed scheduling change. I calmly explained how it might affect customer service during peak hours and suggested an alternative plan. My manager appreciated my professionalism, and we found a compromise. I always aim to support the team while voicing concerns constructively. Question 5. How do you prevent conflicts from happening in the first place? Preventing conflict shows foresight and strong interpersonal skills. Here's how you can answer. I believe prevention comes down to clear communication and respect. I make sure expectations are clear from the start, whether it's about project responsibilities or deadlines. I also check in regularly with colleagues to make sure we're aligned. By building trust and showing empathy, I minimize misunderstandings that often lead to conflict. Prevention doesn't mean conflicts never happen, but it does reduce the chances significantly. Question 6. Can you tell me about a time when you successfully mediated a conflict between others? This question highlights leadership potential and conflict resolution skills beyond your own interactions. Here's how you can answer. In my last role, 2 team members disagreed about the distribution of tasks. Their arguments started affecting overall team morale. I stepped in and organized a meeting where each person could explain their concerns. I acted as a neutral party, making sure both sides felt heard. We then worked together to redistribute tasks based on strengths, which improved efficiency. Both employees later thanked me for facilitating the resolution. I realized the importance of active listening and fairness when mediating conflicts. Question 7. How do you stay calm in emotionally charged situations? Interviewers want to see your ability to manage emotions under stress. Here's how you can answer. I've trained myself to pause before reacting in heated situations. I focus on listening rather than immediately defending my position, which helps de-escalate tension. For example, during a team meeting, a colleague once raised their voice over a misunderstanding. Instead of responding in the same tone, I stayed calm and suggested we clarify the facts. My composure helped shift the discussion back to problem solving. Staying calm not only keeps me level-headed but also encourages others to mirror that calmness. Question 8. How do you balance standing up for yourself while maintaining professionalism? This question explores assertiveness without aggression. Here's how you can answer. I believe professionalism and assertiveness go hand in hand. When I need to stand up for myself, I do so by focusing on facts rather than emotions. For example, if a coworker repeatedly shifts responsibilities onto me, I would politely but firmly explain how this affects my workload and suggest a fairer distribution. This way, I'm not avoiding the issue, but I'm also not escalating it unnecessarily. I see standing up for myself as part of maintaining healthy boundaries while still working collaboratively. Question 9. How do you handle conflict in a team setting where multiple people are involved? Team conflicts can be complex, so interviewers want to know if you can navigate group dynamics. Here's how you can answer. In a group setting, I make sure everyone has the opportunity to share their perspective. I encourage open discussion but set a respectful tone so conversations don't spiral into blame. For example, when my project team disagreed over task priorities, I suggested we rank tasks based on urgency and importance, which gave us a clear, objective framework. This shifted the focus from personal opinions to shared goals, resolving the disagreement productively. Question 10. Why do you think conflict resolution is important in the workplace? This helps you show awareness of the bigger picture. Here's how you can answer. I believe conflict resolution is essential because unresolved issues can damage relationships, lower productivity, and create a negative workplace culture. By addressing conflicts promptly and fairly, we build stronger teamwork and improve overall efficiency. In fact, when handled well, conflicts can lead to growth and innovation because they encourage open discussion and new ideas. That's why I always view conflict resolution as an opportunity to strengthen collaboration. Final thoughts. Conflict is something every professional will encounter, but how you deal with it defines your effectiveness as an employee and as a teammate. Employers want to know that you won't shy away from challenges, but also that you can resolve them with maturity and professionalism. The key is to frame your answers in ways that show empathy, calmness, and a willingness to collaborate. By practicing these common conflict resolution interview questions, you can walk into your interview prepared to demonstrate not just your ability to solve problems, but your ability to build stronger, more cooperative workplaces. Remember, conflict doesn't have to be destructive. It can be an opportunity for growth. Show that you understand this, and you'll stand out as a candidate who brings both competence and emotional intelligence to the table.